Happy Saturday, Miami Heat fans. On today's show, we have a Jimmy Butler update. We are going to break down the latest rumors surrounding Jimmy Butler and the latest saga that this is as it continues here after the bombshell reports and rumors started by Shams Charania just a couple weeks ago. But before we get into the latest surrounding Butler, let's get better than we were last week. The most likes we had on a video last week was 220. Let's beat that this week, right at the weekend. Hit that thumbs up icon. We're putting out daily content surrounding the Heat. There's no reason why not to like the video. All right, there's a little bit of conflicting rumors / reports on Jimmy because some people out there believe that a resolution on Jimmy Butler is relatively imminent, like over the next 3 or 4 days, and others believe it may take weeks and get closer and closer to the February 6th NBA trade deadline, which is probably the most likely scenario on if something does happen or if something doesn't happen regardless. And it all started with this guy, Flex from Jersey, who tweeted this out. And we'll talk about who he is in just a second. But he tweeted this out a couple nights ago saying, I got a major update before the game regarding Jimmy Butler. And let's just say the odds of a potential deal significantly increased per my conversations. Butler wants this to happen, and recent developments over the last 24 hours indicate things could be moving in that direction. And some of you probably don't know who he is. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't either. And I asked myself, is this reliable? Is this someone that we can believe in terms of the reporting, at least to a degree? Well, he does have 30K plus followers on X/Twitter. He hosts the Phoenix Suns podcast that has 17K followers on X/Twitter. So I don't know what his podcast does number-wise on the actual downloads and listens, but on social media, there is a good enough following to where I believe that this guy may have at least some sources inside the Phoenix Suns organization. Is he going to break the news and have more intel than a Barry Jackson, a Shams Charania? No, probably not, but he at least is probably hearing some things when it comes to the situation, so I find it at least a bit intriguing that he mentioned that it has progressed over the past couple of days, kind of into the leaning of Jimmy going to the Suns relatively sooner rather than later. And then when you also have Bill Simmons hopping on the Bill Simmons podcast mentioning Jimmy Butler in the Western Conference standings and then clearly kind of not willing to power rank the Suns or Rockets because he says that the Butler situation is clearly happening soon. So you have now two people over the last 48 hours saying that it could happen very, very soon. Now, I don't want to scare Heat fans and say that this is going to happen in the next 2 or 3 days and happen before Christmas. But Evan Sittery, who is kind of getting into the reporting game, mostly was an aggregator, but is actually someone who aggregates real stuff. He's a step above Dunk Central, saying that the Suns are going to wait until mid-January before deciding on whether to further pursue Jimmy Butler, per Gambo, who we'll talk about him in just a second, mentioned the Phoenix Suns. But let's get into Gambo. John Gambadoro, hopefully I said that right, definitely did not, quote tweeted Evan Sittery and said this. So he's not disputing the report. He's adding on to that official thing that Sittery originally aggregated, saying that with that being said, I will continue to say that Butler wants to come to Phoenix, and I believe the Suns like him. But nothing is imminent, and I expect this will play out over the next few weeks. So John is confirming the report that Butler would prefer Phoenix in any trade out of Miami, but he is saying, in contrary to Flex from Jersey and Bill Simmons, that this is not going to happen in the next 2 or 3 days. It is likely going to happen in the next month or so before that February 6th NBA trade deadline and in mid-January. So that is kind of where John is reporting. And that is before we even talk about Miami's side of things, which is what we're going to do here in just a second. But do you think Jimmy Butler will be traded to Phoenix? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm typing my nose. I don't know how many times I'm going to come up here and say this. And listen, we are a channel that will report the news, report the latest rumors. That's what we did around the Damian Lillard saga. And we'll give our opinion on what is being reported in the rumors out there, but I'm going to come out and tell you this right now. I just do not get it. And I am not going to claim to have sources, but I can tell you one thing. The Miami Heat do not want Bradley Beal. So I don't understand why so many people out there believe Jimmy Butler going to Phoenix is like the leader in the clubhouse. The foregone conclusion if he gets traded away from Miami. Because the trade would just have to be so complicated where it feels kind of far-fetched that it would have to happen. And there are so many factors in this. One being Bradley Beal, who has a full no-trade clause. And why would Miami even want to take on that contract if they are trading Jimmy Butler? Because Phoenix can't aggregate contracts in a deal. It's not like Miami can get Bradley Beal and a couple of good young players. No, it would just be Bradley Beal and picks. And that's not good enough for Miami, in my opinion. And even Bradley Beal was asked about the latest trade rumors, and he responded today, or yesterday, I should say, the same thing until one of them comes and says something to me. It's just out there. I'm a Phoenix Sun, and I'm here, and I'm in a uniform, but don't pay attention to that man. They did that with me for 10 years, referring to his trade rumors days in Washington as a member of the Wizards. But I got to be honest. The Heat are not trading Jimmy Butler for Bradley Beal and one first-round pick in 2031. Like, is that 2031 first-round pick very valuable? There's no debating that because that first-round pick will likely be conveyed when Kevin Durant is retired, when Jimmy Butler would hypothetically be retired, and the Suns may be a really bad team where that pick is going to be in the top 5. It's very possible. But why would Pat Riley make that deal? Why would he make that trade now to benefit someone that isn't himself because he will be retired by then without a second guess or hesitation there? So if the Heat are trading Jimmy Butler away, I believe it would be to get assets in the next 2 to 3 seasons in a young player where the Heat can choose to extend or build around that young player alongside Jim or Tyler Hero and Bam. So to me, the Heat aren't making a trade with Phoenix, including Jimmy Butler, and let's say third team and gets involved for Bradley Beal. And what third team is going to jump in to acquire the 3-year, $50 million on annual average salary contract that Beal possesses? And what would make Bradley Beal waive his no-trade clause to go to that third team, assuming they are not a contending team? I think the Phoenix Suns rumors with the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler are just too far-fetched, and I don't see it happening whatsoever. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time, the #1 ticketing app out there. And around this holiday season, if you want to be the person that gives the best gift, well, gift tickets to live events with Game Time. Comedy shows, concerts, live sporting events. It doesn't matter. You can get your tickets the best way with Game Time. I bought tickets on Game Time for my parents. Mavericks, Timberwolves, Christmas Day basketball. We're heading there. It's the best holiday gift, and I implore you guys to join me with buying your tickets on Game Time. They have a great feature called Game Time Picks, which filters out the fluff to show you the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They also have all-in pricing. Toggling that feature shows you the total price of your ticket up front, rather than getting blindsided by fees at checkout. You also get a panoramic view in the app of your seat before you buy. There's no better and easy experience when it comes to purchasing tickets than with Game Time. So download the app today, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, first purchase only, but one more time, use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off on Game Time. What time is it? It's game time. Let's flash back just a couple off seasons ago because the Heat were linked to Bradley Beal when he got traded from Washington to Phoenix. It was actually in the same offseason as the Damian Lillard saga as well. Beal got traded earlier in that offseason. And I could go on record saying that I actually wanted the Heat to trade for Bradley Beal because he looked good in Washington. He didn't have these injury issues, and it would not have costed as much as the Damian Lillard thing. And I thought Miami could have acquired him really early in the offseason and just kind of set up everything perfectly for them. And we know that Bradley Beal waived his no-trade clause for Phoenix and Miami and was okay with either one. And Bradley Beal actually talked about how he thought he was going to be a member of the Miami Heat. But the Heat did not pull the trigger on that deal. Why did they not trade second-round picks and salary filler to Washington for Bradley Beal. It is widely reported they did not want to take on Bradley Beal's contract and no trade clause. If they had the ability to acquire Bradley Beal and then have the flexibility of trading him into the future, they would have done it. But the fact that he had a full NTC, they didn't want to deal with that contract that's $50 million per season for 3 more years and have the no trade clause. So what makes people think that the Heat would now want to acquire Bradley Beal in that same exact contract? It is ludicrous. It makes no sense to me that people believe they would do this. Not to mention, Bradley Beal's value has decreased over the past year and a half due to his inability to stay healthy for the Suns and his overall efficiency declining and not looking like the scorer he once was in Washington. And I get it that he is working with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, 2 better players, so his numbers are going to decrease. But I don't understand his fit in a Miami Heat uniform, and I don't understand why people would believe that Pat Riley in this front office would want Bradley Beal now when they weren't willing to commit to him 2 years ago when he was a more valued player and asset. It makes no sense. It's absolutely dumbfounding me. But which is why I want to transition to this and saying that if we are talking about a Jimmy Butler trade, the Golden State Warriors are way more likely and would be the leader in the clubhouse by quite a large margin. Like, if I had to power rank out of 100, the likelihood that Jimmy Butler gets traded and where he would get traded to, I think if you had to rank the teams, I would go 70% Golden State, 15% Phoenix, 15% Houston. Dallas ain't happening. I think Houston, if they got interested, would be jumping way up there, but right now it doesn't seem like they'd be interested in sending out some of their young assets and picks for Jimmy Butler. It's just not on their timetable. But they still have the same percentage odds as Phoenix because I just don't think that's going to happen. And I think Golden State, if Jimmy is traded, would be the leader without a question. It's because they actually have real trade assets and have contracts that they can move for Butler, like an Andrew Wiggins, like a Brandon Podziemski, like a Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody. Plus, they have 2 tradable first-round picks, while Phoenix only has the 1 in 2031. So if you are the Heat, they have a much more appealing trade package that they can give you. Golden State probably has more pressure on them to acquire Butler because if they want to give Stephen Curry the best chance to win a title before he officially retires in 2 to 3 seasons, Jimmy Butler meets his timetable, is the best guy out there to be his co-star, and you could have him and Steph work as a really good tandem in the Western Conference. And as Miami, like I mentioned, you get salary filler like Wiggins, Kevon Looney, Kuminga, plus a couple first-round picks. You get a young guy, you get picks. Like, it makes sense for both sides. But let me know this, and don't lie to me. Do you like the Warriors' assets? Type L if you like, type DL if you don't like. Don't lie to me. Let me know. I'll say this. I think I like it to a degree. I'm not going to go out there and say I love their assets, but it's better than Phoenix. But with that being said, on it's better than Phoenix, I want to reiterate this. And I said this in our video last Wednesday when talking about Jimmy Butler trade rumors. I am not going to give him away for nothing. I have been on the train of trading Jimmy because I don't think you're going to sign him to an extension. He is going to opt out, and you might just have to do a sign and trade in the offseason where you won't get back as much assets as you would if you traded them during the season. But I am not giving him away for nothing. If there is no good offer on the table before February 6th and you feel like you're like, well, we're not getting back what we wanted, so we might as well just extend him. Because you're only adding 1 extra year to his contract. And maybe they don't want to do that whatsoever. And the relationship between him and Pat Riley might be beyond repair at this point. But at least if I'm the Miami Heat, I am not eliminating the option of extending him. Because some of these trade offers you might get for Jimmy are just not adequate enough of trading a player of his caliber. And I'm not trading him away for nothing. That is asinine and a bad way to run an organization. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you are subscribed because we're dropping content all the time around the Miami Heat. We'll be live on Monday for a watch party. We'll be live on the following Thursday, day after Christmas, for a watch party as well. We'll have content in between, so make sure you hit that sub button. If anything new comes out around Jimmy Butler, we'll have you covered.